Now, the judge in the Fani Willis hearing has just adjourned, saying he's going to take 2 weeks before rendering his decision. This issue has been widely covered in the media. Let's go over a couple of things that maybe have been less widely covered. We know the evidence. First of all, Ms. Willis was running around in Atlanta telling the potential jury pool that those opposing her, the other lawyers, had to be racist. Well, when you consider that she's talking to the jury pool in doing that, she's almost certainly violated various ethical rules that obtain for a prosecutor, for any lawyer in that jurisdiction. She also seems to have committed at least one campaign finance violation. She talks about the fact that on the stand she said that she has money from her first campaign still in her closet.
So my question was, where did that cash originally come from, if it didn't come out of the bank?
Cash is fungible. I had cash for years in my house. So for me to tell you the source of when it comes from, when you go to Publix and you buy something, you get $50, you throw it in there. It's been my whole life. When I took out a large amount of money on my first campaign, I kept some of the cash of that.
And it's an amazing admission on the stand under oath. She has also likely talked her way, in my estimation, into several perjury charges, as has Wade, as has Terrence Bradley, Wade's business partner. While all three denied that the affair began before November of 2021, when Wade was hired by Willis, numerous witnesses have contradicted that. Terrence Bradley's own text messages contradict that. Digital forensics presented by the Trump side contradict that. And an employee of Willis's contradict that. I don't know how the judge can ignore that kind of evidence. And if all of that is in fact true, then these three have lied to the court, committed perjury, and there's no way that Willis and Wade can continue on the case. But let's go into something else here that I think is a nuance. First, Donald Trump's lawyers, right before the adjournment, said that they'd like to present more evidence. And the judge said, I don't need it, I have all I need.
I think we've reached the point where I'd like to hear more of how some of the legal arguments apply to what has already been presented. And it may already be possible for me to make a decision without those needing to be material to that decision.
Now, having done that, I find it hard to believe that this judge can let the case go forward without disqualifying Willis and Wade. If he does let it go forward, he's doing it under the auspices of not having heard the entire story, because they had more evidence that they wanted to present. Furthermore, the Senate in Georgia, the state Senate, has opened an investigation into the entire affair and has already issued subpoenas. The judge doesn't know what the Senate is going to turn up. And if at some point, which seems likely, the Senate manages to get hold of the text messages between Willis and Wade, who reportedly had at least 35 contacts per day in 2021 leading up to her hiring of him, almost certainly, in my opinion, those text messages are going to show that the two were romantically involved. That means that they've lied to the court, opened themselves up to perjury, and this judge allowed it to happen. The judge doesn't know what the Senate could turn up. Puts him in a very precarious position. Therefore, I think he's likely going to have to at the least disqualify the two of them. At that point, the real question becomes, can the case even remain in the Fulton County Prosecutor's Office? And I don't see how it can, because to me, as she is the boss, the entire office is tainted. The case should be dismissed and either re-indicted elsewhere in a different jurisdiction in Georgia or dismissed altogether. They've really made a mockery of this. Anybody else would be held to a standard that would include, at the very least, disqualification, potential prosecution for perjury, and yes, disbarment. I'm Paul Mauro for the Ops Desk.